All right, let me wait for this YouTube stream to kick in so I can see it. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so I was recently asked how could I use the Vue CLI with Calcite components, the JavaScript API, and use the Sass from the JavaScript API and build Sass together. Oh, man. So I don't use all those things, at least not all together. I like Vue. I like Vue a lot. I think Vue is a very cool library. And remember, it's really with the Vue CLI and everything. It's more of a full-fledged framework and everything now. So I think Vue is very good. I like using it. I haven't really used Calcite components in a while. I did a while ago, but they've had a lot of updates since then. The Calcite components are built with Stencil.js, and they are distributed as components, so you could use them directly in your apps. So there's that piece. You're not building the Calcite components. You're just going to consume them and use them. I don't really use Sass much these days. I did for a while, quite a while ago. I actually kind of like Stylus more than Sass, but either way, it doesn't matter. It's all kind of the same crap. And of course, I use JavaScript API all the time, but really don't use them all together. So I was like, man, okay, how can I get this all working, right? And like anything, it all kind of boils down to the build. Luckily, Vue CLI does let you do extend the Webpack build of the application. Although you're like digging deep into like the Webpack stuff, you have to pretty much use you have to use Tappable, kind of get in there, and it's a fluent API. It's pretty nice actually when you get used to it. So it's not too bad, but it's a little bit more of an advanced stuff you have to do to get some of the loader stuff to work for Vue CLI. Because you gotta kind of play with the Webpack config a little bit. And then of course Vue CLI, web components, a whole bit. So let's cover how to get it all going. I have a basic app that I've kind of put together. It doesn't do anything yet. There's a web map Vue component, just has a div. I have some Sass down there. So if you're not familiar with it, when you working with Vue, your style tag, just put lang is equal to SCSS. That'll be your Sass. Or I think you can put Sass in there too. I think I just use SCSS all the time. My app view is just going to consume that web map and display it. So I've got some styles set up here. And that's about all I have right now. I do have this map file. So this is where the JavaScript API part comes in, right? It exposes a function called Initialize, takes a container, applies that container to my map view, so it will display on the map somewhere. And the rest of this is just going to go ahead and be regular JavaScript API stuff. I cover this stuff all the time. I'm not going to go into what is happening here, right? So that's a module that's going to load the map. Oh, man. Okay, so now how do I get this set up? So I'm actually using the, what am I using? I forget now. Oh, so I'm using the next version of ArcGIS Core, which is going to be the 420 release. It should be out pretty soon if it's not out already. And so if I'm going to build the Sass, I essentially want to build my own CSS file. So I'm going to be working locally. So I'm going to copy the assets locally to my build. I'm not going to load them from the CDN. That also means I need to copy the fonts and the icons and everything over, because there are parts of the CSS or the Sass that do like import URL statements. So you need to copy over those, and so they'll know where everything's going to end up, right? If you look at my map.js here, I do bring in the config and I tell it I want to look for my assets locally, right? So I need to set that up in my Vue config as well to copy over my assets. And I'll show you a little trick you can do here with the copy Webpack plugins, so they kind of minimize the number of assets that are getting copied over. You don't want Sass in your output deploy. You're building the Sass to create CSS, but you don't need the Sass for the output. So we're gonna get rid of that, right? So I need to do some stuff here. So you don't really know some of these variable names unless you kind of look at the source Sass files in here, which I don't even know where they're going to be. So if I go into ArcGIS Core, assets, Esri, themes, base. Here we go. Base core, I believe it is. There are some Sass variables in here you're going to find. Here we go. So the icon, Ico Moon. I don't know why it's called Ico Moon. Ico Moon, whatever. I didn't name it. It's called Ico Moon for whatever reason. Font path, and then the Calcite fonts path, because we have some Calcite fonts built into the JavaScript API. So we need to override these to use them inside of our application, because we're going to be pulling them in locally. So what we can do is under the web map view, and here I'm going to go ahead and do some copy paste magic, because seriously, I'm not going to be typing all this stuff out. It's late. I go to bed early, people. I go to bed like between 8 and 9 because I'm up like at 3:30 in the morning to work out my garage gym and stuff. So I am going to start passing out in this live stream pretty soon. So here what I've done is I've set up my font path and the Calcite fonts path to point to my local assets that will get copied to my my machine, right? When I do my build. If you name them differently, so if you are not calling it assets, maybe you're going to call them static, something like that, you put that here, and also you're going to put it in the, oh, I hate when I open node modules, because then I got to go over here. You know, VS Code is great to work in for demo purposes, like streams, but I'm not quick in it. Yeah, so you change this to static or whatever you're going to want to call it. I stick with assets because it's just familiar to me, right? And then I'm going to go import the Sass for the JavaScript API. I'm going to use a light theme here. Okay, for the JavaScript API Sass, in terms of what you have to do in Vue, that's pretty much it at that point. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I need to do there, right? So I'll set the map stuff first, because it's going to be easier for me to talk about the Calcite stuff once I do this. So I've already got a map div. What I need to do is I need to go ahead and set up my map, my web map, right? It's my web map.view. So I'm going to do my view bit that I need to do here. I'm going to export default an object. The name is web map. I use an async mounted because I'm going to dynamically import that file that has all the JavaScript API stuff, and then run the initialize method with the element that gets created by this template, right? Which is going to be, in this case, I only have a single one here. I don't know if Vue allows you to have multiple, like if I can have another div down here, since they're wrapped in the template. I don't know if template acts as a fragment or not, and I don't know what this .l would be in that case. So if someone knows, I'm sure you can let me know, but I'm not going to mess with that because I don't like doing stuff like that. So this element here is going to be equal to this. That'll be my container. This is where my map is going to show up, and I've already got my style set up for that. Okay, so that's the map. So now if we go to app view, right? App view, we're going to be consuming this map, but I want to put this inside of a Calcite shell. So if we come over here to Calcite, Calcite has this concept of shells where it's like an app shell, and it'll let you kind of organize the layout of stuff. You can have these side action bars and panels. I can build my shell header and stuff like that to let me kind of organize what I want my application to look like. So I'm going to copy this over. Again, this goes some copy paste magic. Now this is going to look a little different inside of Vue versus what you would do in probably in like a regular HTML. And I don't know if React is the same way with this, but Vue doesn't like it if I try to put these slot names in here. So if I do slot equals, something, Vue's going to complain, right? No deprecated slot attributes. So slot attributes are deprecated. So you can't put, they don't want you to put slot attributes in there, but you can put slot elements under and give them the names, right? So in Vue, there is a shell header that you can use, and I'm going to give it a class header, and I'm bringing the Calcite icons, right? And I'm going to use the beaker icon for experimental, and I'm going to go ahead and my heading here is going to be ArcGIS Vue Calcite, right? And then I put the web map in here inside my Calcite shell, right? So that's pretty much how I'm handling that at this point, and that is just basically going to give me a header and give me my map, and we're good to go. I'm not really adding any buttons or action stuff or anything in here. It's just a quick intro of getting Calcite stuff set up. But it will work. Everything just, they're web components. They're just going to work off the bat. Now I do need to initialize the Calcite stuff to start, right? And there's some documentation in here on the GitHub on different ways you can do it. So if you're using Webpack, they recommend you can install the stencil Webpack and then using the Webpack config. Now I could try to use this in my view config, extending this stuff. I don't know. I've never really had, well, I guess I can't complain. It's probably worked for me when I've used it. I just didn't notice a difference how I did. This does not like, Vue doesn't like this kind of like import, and I don't know why. I don't know. It's not my job. Well, I guess it's my job to question why. I don't know why. Sorry. If I had a better answer for you, I'd give it. But it's okay. We can still initialize it, and I would do that in my main. Well, okay. So I'm going to use in the app view. Maybe I'll do it in here. So I'm going to do it inside my app view. Or importing my maps here. So I'm going to go ahead and load the Calcite loader stuff in here. Right, so there's apply polyfills, define custom elements. This is just going to go ahead and set up all the Calcite stuff so we can use it. And like I said, I'm going to use it in here. It might be okay. Oops, I don't want it there. Don't want it there. It might be okay if I did it in the main file. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. If I did it over here, that way it's all set up and ready to go when the app starts. But the app view is still kind of kicking everything off. So I think I'm fine putting it here. It's more of a choice, I believe, to do it. And I don't know if there's like standard way. Whatever feels good to you, man. Do what you think is going to be right. All right. You can put your Calcite apply polyfills method here or in the main.js. It's really kind of up to you. So if I run this now, let's see what it's going to do. All right. So things are starting to build. Probably is not good. I know it's not going to work 100%. You're going to get these warnings from the Sass. Yeah, there's stuff broken in here. It can't. Oh, see, so because I am using the Sass from the API, you're going to get all these errors and stuff where it's going to fail to compile. Where's the top of that? Fail to compile. Right here. 81 errors. We'll fix those right now. But you're going to get these warnings in here. And this is just Sass that's in the JavaScript API right now. And stuff that hasn't been updated yet. And there was a way to do it with Vue 2 to turn these warnings off, I believe. Well, actually, no, not Vue. I'm sorry, not Vue 2. A previous version of Sass was a way to turn these off, I think. But with the Dart Sass, I wasn't able to find a way to turn those off. So unfortunately, you're still going to see those warnings and can't really control them. There's probably a Webpack way to do it, but I'm not going to mess with that. Okay, so let's come. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of where you have to come to the Vue config and start messing with some stuff, right? Let me see if I can find a link here somewhere. There's a link from the Vue CLI config, and I'm looking at another window here. Okay, so let me open up over here. All right, so there's a Vue CLI config, and it talks about all the different stuff that you can set up. So we're going to be messing with the chain Webpack, right? And yeah, here we go. So yeah, we're going to be doing the chain Webpack. There's configure Webpack, and there's a chain Webpack, and there's some other stuff you can do. So this is where things start to get a little funky. Okay, so let's get into it here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to import my copy plugin. The copy Webpack plugin, really. Okay, so I got the copy Webpack plugin, and I can put this into the module exports under a configure, and I don't get IntelliSense here, so I think it's the lowercase p. Configure Webpack, yeah. Configure Webpack. And this is where I will set up my plugins. Now I'm able to go ahead and add new plugins. These plugins are going to get merged with the Vue CLI's Webpack config plugins. They'll just kind of merge in there. So it's like a nice, easy way to do it. So here I just say new, not SAPI, copy plugin. I still can't type, haven't learned yet. And we're going to have the patterns in here. And this is an array. Now, I got this directly from the, there's on the Esri GitHub. Let's go to that in a second. So come up over here, come to Esri GitHub, and you do a search for Calcite. You're going to find a repo in here, Calcite components examples. Really useful if you're getting into it, right? It's got Webpack, Vue, React, Rollup, Preact, TypeScript, Ember, Angular, a bunch of different examples of how to use the components inside of those different frameworks and build environments, right? So I got this from there. Basically, what you're saying here is that I'm going to be using my Calcite components and build everything locally, but I need to pull those fonts and icons and everything from somewhere. Static assets need to come locally. If I'm not pulling the Calcite stuff from the CDN, like Unpackage or something like that, or I think this on JS Deliver and stuff, if I'm not pulling it from there, then I need to pull them from somewhere. So I need to copy this stuff, and it's going to get pulled from there. And this is bugging me. Let me format. Okay, there we go. So now, okay, now I also do something else. So I'm going to put this little bit in here. So I'm going to show you a cool trick for minimizing the number of files that you copy over with the JavaScript API when you copy the assets locally. So I'm going to use this JSI variable. Don't worry, don't have to. You can hard code it right in for ArcGIS Core. I do this because I do this a lot with the ArcGIS JSAPI package as well. This because same concept. So for the ArcGIS assets, come over here. We're going to do another copy. But in our case, what we're going to do, let me format this again because it's bothering my eyes. So we're going to pull them from node modules. We're going to copy from ArcGIS Core assets to an assets folder. And then we're going to have this glob options and things we want to ignore. So we want to ignore the web scene spec folder. You don't need it in the deployed build. And we're going to ignore all the Sass files because we're building Sass CSS. We don't have to have Sass for the output files. You could go a step further here, and if there are certain locales you don't want to support, you can create that list of locales for the JSON files in here and have them ignored as well. I wouldn't recommend it because I've said this plenty of times before. Your application may not support more than one locale, but the JavaScript API does. So if a user has a locale in the browser set up, parts of your app may not translate, but the JavaScript API widgets and components and everything else will. So you should probably leave them in. I don't recommend removing locale files. Straight up. All right. Be a good neighbor. Okay, so that is going to get us halfway there. That's not going to do everything, though. Now we need to get to some more nitty-gritty bit. That was the easy part of configuring Webpack with the Vue CLI. Now we need to use this part over here, chain Webpack. It's a bit more advanced. And let's come over here. Working with Webpack chaining. All right, so this is an advanced feature in here. So you're basically going to be modifying parts of the different loader. And I had a lot of trouble getting this to work at first until I found a sample that was very similar to something down here. Let me see. For each? No, it's not here. There's an example that uses for each to go over the different types of rules that happen during this build step. So I'm just going to copy this chain Webpack bit here so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's Vue modules, Vue normal modules, and normal. We're going to iterate over each of these, take that rule, and then we're going to say that, so this is where the Fluent API stuff comes in, right? So we're going to say for the CSS rule, one of Vue modules, Vue normal modules, and normal, we're going to use the CSS loader and add this loader for this, well, access to CSS loader, but I want to modify the options a bit. I want to turn URL to false and then import loaders to 2. I don't remember what the import loaders does, but the URL to false is going to help for the import URL statements and stuff like that, right? That is going to make that work a little bit easier for us. Now there is, so that's pretty much all you have to do, but you have to, this is somewhere else in the documentation. They showed this, not for the config module, but they showed it for something else, and I couldn't remember what, but that's where I found it from. And this worked out really well for me. So this did it for me and got everything working. The other thing you need to change is that by default, View CLI is going to copy CSS into a CSS folder. That kind of messes us up because our static fonts and icons and everything else is in a assets folder. So we kind of want the CSS at the root of the application, not inside another folder. So we're going to modify the CSS part where it does the extraction and have the file names changed. So no folder. It's just going to go right into the name of the files and whatnot. This will make it much easier. So now, if I do this, cross my fingers. Oh, come on, you can do it. You can do it. The initial build, when you run the dev server, it will take a little bit, but once that's done, iterations are going to be super fast, right? So let's go ahead, localhost 8080, and there we go. Now this isn't aligned because I haven't set up the header and stuff like that. But you can see here, this is my Calcite shell. All of this. Here is the header for my Calcite header part, and then my icon, right? So this is all Calcite stuff, kind of controlling the layout for me. So I need to add some app view. I think I need some more CSS. Ah, that's right, because I was going to do some stuff in here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to get access to the Calcite CSS, or the Calcite components colors, right? They have variables in Sass that I can use. So I'm going to go ahead and reference them here. So I've marked this as a Calcite colors. And then what I want is I'm going to go ahead and have my header class and heading in here. So I need to kind of organize these a little bit with some styling. And like I said, I'm definitely not taking advantage of Sass stuff. I'm probably gonna add some functions to do some things here and whatnot, but I'm not Sass savvy, sassy. That's not me. But okay, so there we go. Let me see real quick. That aligned my icons, got my color in there. I'm using this Sass variable, which I don't know from the Calcite stuff. This might mean header, like a heading color. And I don't know what the BB stands for, and I don't know what this 60. I think that might be like 60% of the hue. I'm making that shit up. I have no idea what this means. But I just found this by looking at this colors file at this location in node modules, which I'm not going to open up because then I have to close it, and you get the idea. So, okay, so that fixed that. I mean, everything looks great now. I mean, I don't think I need to do anything else. Was that it? No way, that's it. Let me check my reference here. But no, I think that actually might be it. Yeah, so this was like the main bit. Bringing these Calcite colors in, doing that. We have the web map view, also using Sass, importing the ArcGIS core Sass file. I can change this to dark too. Let's see what happens if I change it to dark. Update that. And there we go. Now we have the dark theme there. I might want to change this color here to, what is it, like E3? Yeah, there we go. So kind of a bit, it's just kind of gray. Let's just make it black. And that would be was 2, 3. I should know that. All right, there we go. So okay, or no, let's leave it white, and let's do this. Let's come over here. I'll show you how I did it. I know I said I wasn't going to open this stupid node modules, but so if I come to Calcite colors, dist, colors, Sass file, and if you have VS Code, this is a good part about VS Code. You get all the cool color variables, and you'll see what the colors are here for each one. So if I go for like a really dark blue 100, right? So let's try that. Since we're doing a whole dark theme here. Ooh, super dark. All right, it doesn't quite match the color here. So I might want to actually, in this case, go to find out what the Sass variable is for the dark theme backgrounds here and apply that to my header over here. But you get the idea. You can take advantage of keeping everything consistent across the board with your app using the different calcite colors and stuff. But you have to be kind of familiar with them and look at the source code for the Sass files and everything to really understand how to put them all together, right? So that was pretty much it. So there was, I think, one thing I wanted to show. Actually, I probably fixed it. Oh, it was this CSS part. So it was weird. In dev mode, you don't have the issue where the output is in a CSS folder for the CSS, but when you do the build, you do. So if I run this build, I'll just show you the output of everything, right? Like I said, you're going to get these warnings from the Sass. They come from the Dart Sass compiler. I've yet to find a way to turn them off. There is another warning you're going to get too. Let me see if I can get it to work over here. Come on, build, build, build. This is a super fast machine. The build's still taking longer than I want. All right, so... Come on, you can do it. Building, building, building. It's parsing all that Sass and everything now too. Okay, so everything in the dist directory. So yeah, so my CSS is now living inside of my the root of the application. My assets are here where they should be, and we're good to go. All right, let's try this. npx serve dist. Just like that. All right. It's probably going to be my blog first. No, it's not. Okay. So there we go. So, I'm not getting the warnings here. I was getting warnings in the build originally about Vue, the bundler, not liking the Calcite shell elements in here. But it doesn't look like the warning is coming up on this machine. It did come up on regular Chrome, though. I'm using Brave browser. But that is something that Vue 2 was much easier to turn off. But it looks like with Vue 3, you have to do some stuff inside the Vue config to turn off that particular warning, unfortunately. It was easier before. It doesn't mean that the web components don't work. They are working as expected. It's just a warning with the bundler for whatever reason that does that. But let's take a look at just what this bundle size ends up looking like. Come on. All right, so let's just look at the JavaScript. Let's refresh this again. So 775K of JavaScript and 20 JavaScript files. And that's just because of all the chunks that get generated and stuff, right? Not bad. That is pretty cool. So there you go. So if you ever have wanted to use the Vue CLI, the ArcGIS API for JavaScript, Calcite, and Sass in a single application, there you go. Good luck. God bless. I hope that helps you out. It took me, it honestly, I mean, it took me like maybe half a day to kind of get this all up and running. The hardest part was just this like chain Webpack stuff in here. I hadn't really messed with updating the Vue CLI Webpack before. I had done some stuff where I tried just merging plugins and stuff to do it, but I think I was overriding some Sass stuff, so that wasn't working for me. But this here was the toughest part for me to kind of figure out. This kind of Fluent API, adding to the options easy enough, but just getting this particular setup here is what was tricky. Once I got that, everything just kind of fell into place. Also making sure that I was telling saying the Sass variables for point to my assets here and not the node modules versions of it, because then those don't get copied over, right? I got to set them here. So that's important to do as well. But yeah, I mean, if you got any questions about this stuff, please feel free to let me know. I'm always looking into different configurations of how users are building apps, right? That's like one of the main things I try to focus on, because if I can help you get over the hurdle of just building an app for whatever reason, then you can do some pretty amazing things. And I hope that's what you end up doing. So don't forget to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. Helps me out, helps you out, helps everyone out. All right, folks, you have a good one. Talk to you later.